Alright, hi boys. Today what we're having a look at is the idea of rates. And you will have seen rates in everyday life. If anyone's ever driven in a car, you'll notice that we have a speed. So let's say our speed limit outside the school here is about 50 kilometers per hour. Well, that's an example of a rate. A rate compares one quantity per another. It's similar to a ratio in a lot of ways because we're comparing two quantities, but with a rate we have one quantity per the other. So if we had for example, something like I said, I went 40 kilometers in 4 hours, well, the rate there is 40 divided by 4, or 10 kilometers per hour. Now, what you'll notice that I've done there is I've wanted to get this in per hour. So we want to break it down to 1 unit on the bottom of our fraction. So we always want it as something like 10 kilometers per hour rather than 40 kilometers in 4 hours. Now it's the same speed, it's the same rate, we just convert it, much like we did with our ratios as well. So if I look at another one, let's say that a building company can lay 5,000 litres of concrete in 5 days. Okay, well, we could work that out and say, what is our rate of concrete per day? We would have to say, well, I do 5,000 litres in 5 days, so that means I'm going to do 1,000 litres per day. Okay, now you'll see here that our units are different. It's litres per 1 day. That's what we're interested in here. Okay, so it's always one quantity per the other. Our quantities will be in different units, and we're always looking to simplify. We always want that number on the bottom of our fraction, that one there, to be 1, because that tells us how much concrete we can lay in 1 day per day, and that's how we use our rates. Now let's look at an example with some money. Let's say I worked for 6 hours and I was paid $150. Okay, well, I need to work out my rate of pay. Let's work out our rate of pay here. Well, we're not going to go 6 divided by 150 because that's really not going to tell me anything. But what I do need to work out is how many dollars I'm being paid per hour. So you'll notice that our dollars is on top of the fraction and our hours is on the bottom. So let's write that again here. We're going to have 150 over 6. Okay, well, what's 150 divided by 6? We can put that in our calculator and we get $25 per hour. Okay, so that means I'm being paid $25 per hour. Now let's say we have another question here. It says, how much will I be paid for a 9-hour shift? Okay, well, I'm being paid $25 per hour, so my pay will be my $25 per hour multiplied by 9 hours, which I hope you see is $225. Okay, so we can work with things that way when we're dealing with our rates. We deal with rates all the time. And I'm sure you are actually familiar with them and can probably simplify some of these in your head without even knowing it. Let's do a sporting example. If I say I had something like, okay, the Australian cricket team, Australia scored 240 runs in 50 overs. Now I'm sure you're familiar with this. We develop an RPO, runs per over. Well, we'd say runs, 240 divided by 50 is 4.8 runs per over. Now I hope you know that in cricket you can't actually score 0.8 runs per over. But what this is an average. So what this is saying, we might have an over where I score 4 runs, and then 5, and another 5. I might have a 1 run over, I might have a 10, but overall it averages out so that I'm scoring 4.8 runs per over. It doesn't mean I'm scoring exactly 4.8 every over, but as an average through this innings, I've scored 4.8 runs per over. Now if the second part of the question is how many runs will they score in 85 overs at this rate? Well, I'm going to say that our number of runs is our 4.8 runs per over times 85, which will give us 408 runs. Okay, and again, please be assured that is an average runs per over. Just like if we think about strike rate, if we think about points per game in a basketball game or a game of footy, if a team is scoring 32.6 points per game, it doesn't mean that they've had a game where they've scored 32.6 points. It means they've had a couple where they've scored 30, a couple where they've scored 40, maybe one higher, one lower, but it averages out over the season, or in this case over the innings, as a decimal value. Okay boys, there are some notes going up on the board as well, but I hope this has helped and we'll do some questions from our textbook. Have a good day.